I got out of prison in August of 2021 and I had some bizarre first. I've talked about the panic attack at Costco and negotiations in Walmart, but that week, that Friday, so I got out on a Monday, that Friday my girlfriend decided to take me the best of Seaville. So this is a celebration every year for the best restaurants, the best podcasts, the best of everything in our local area. It's also just a total debauchery fest. So I wasn't used to being around people, I wasn't used to being around crowds and partying and live music, and I had no idea what to expect. And this was in the middle of COVID, so I didn't know how things would be. So before we even get to the venue, as we're like walking from the parking, this giant 6.5 foot sailor, because it was a yacht rock party, so this guy's literally dressed as a sailor, comes up and says, "You just got out of prison." And I just kind of stood there like, what do you say to a 6.5 foot drunken sailor who's like pointing at you? And then he comes over, gives me a giant hug and says, "If anybody messes with you, you tell me, because I got good lawyers." And then he goes away. And he actually ended up being a great guy. He works at a local establishment. I see him and we wave to each other. I really like him, but it was just a bizarre first experience. So then I get in there and everybody is dressed in like the most insane garb. Like, yeah, yacht rock, like, okay, they have big sailors uniforms on. That's weird. Like, I look over and there's a woman in a miniskirt with just like little things over her nipples, but like nothing else. And I was like, I just got out of prison where literally a woman wearing like a short pantsuit feels pornographic, so I didn't know what was going on. And I'm with my girlfriend, so I'm like trying not to look and I'm trying to be human and not just completely overwhelmed. So we go and there's music and there's food and it was actually a really good time. And I got to meet a bunch of people. I got to meet a bunch of Courtney's friends and we get those looks like Courtney, the local established reporter, and Jesse, the guy just out of prison, and like news of the town. And yeah, it was interesting to, get the questions and like the loaded questions. So how are things? Like, how are you holding up, Courtney? Like all these kind of like insinuating, kind of rude, kind of, funny things. And then I think what made it so bizarre was the venue itself. So this was at Ix Art Park in Charlottesville. And this is a place that's amazing. It's just an art installation. It's got all kinds of just different pieces. And they have something called the Looking Glass, or Through the Looking Glass, which is the most bizarre, psychedelic, like Alice in Wonderland experiential art thing you've ever seen. So a week out of prison, a week out of quarantine in prison, basically, where I've been on like COVID lockdown, haven't been out in the world, I'm like crawling through a giant mushroom and like swinging on a swing next to a like bizarre tree that's made out of folded fabric and like psychedelic mirrors. And it was the trippiest thing in my life. And I have never felt more overwhelmed. But because I was there with Courtney, I felt okay. Like, because we had kind of established this trust and this experience, despite this being so far outside the realm of anything I'd ever experienced, and so far outside the realm of anything that felt vaguely comfortable, like I was okay. And I had a really good time and I was really excited to be there. And I realized like, that was when it really shifted. Like, I am really free and I am really in the world, and there is really just an unimaginable range of experiences awaiting me. Because it goes from that to having brunch on like an incredibly expensive sculpture at like somebody's house, to just going and like being able to get into a pool. Like, I haven't been in a pool in forever. Or being able to get in the ocean, or being able to get into a lake, or being able to like get on a bicycle and then get on a motorcycle and drive a car. And these things that I think people take for granted and assume are like kind of grudging drudgeries are actually the most amazing opportunities. Like, I went out with a couple buddies and they had too many drinks and I don't drink. So I got to drive their car home and it was like an old BMW stick shift. And I was super excited and he was like, "Man, why are you so happy?" I was like, "Because I haven't driven a stick shift in 20 years. Like, this is great." I got to go do carpentry. I got to do all these things that was amazing because I got to feel like I had some sense of like control and agency in my life. Like, I could build something for someone. I could drive a car. I could learn something new. I could like engage with the world and just meet new people. I could sit down at a coffee shop and just be like, "Hey, how are you doing today?" Like, I could actually interact with the world in a way that I wasn't able to for 20 years. It's hard to describe, but let me just say, the first coming out of prison are about the best experience you can imagine.